How much poverty is there in Africa at the moment, and in your opinion, which are the countries that are most affected?
Well, almost all African countries are affected. I mean, South Africa is the strongest economy in Africa, has the strongest economy in Africa. You have Nigeria, which has oil, but if you go there, the ordinary people, you know, in South Africa, like I said, 80% of the wealth is still in the hand of 5% white, and people still live in tin houses. And look at in Nigeria, in the Delta region, despite this massive wealth coming out of oil, the ordinary people don't see it. They don't see it at all. And in Nigeria, of all places, people queue for petrol. You will not see the situation in, you see the situation in Darfur, in Sudan. The war and climate change is hitting Africa hard now. What's happening and what young people here need to know is that Africa is not poor at all. Africa is very rich. It's a very rich continent. It's very rich in natural and mineral resources, but the interference from outside has been a problem for Africa. The situation in Africa, I could compare it with someone coming with a gun, shooting you on the legs, and asking you, hey, hello, you have broken legs. How can I help you to walk? But you shot me in the first place. That's what's happening, because the slave trade crippled Africa, and then after that, colonialism came, and neocolonialism, because after the so-called flag and anthems independence we got, nothing has changed. Dictators were put there everywhere throughout the continent. Dictators, Western power could manipulate to their benefit, especially during the Cold War.
So what is the British government doing at the moment to help Africa, and in your opinion, what should they be doing?
A lot of aid is flowing to Africa. Britain, for instance, is the biggest donor to the Democratic Republic of Congo, my country, today, after the war. But we know very well, factually, that Britain and America literally supported Rwanda and Uganda to invade Congo. 5 million people have been killed since 98, from 1998 till 2003. 5 million people killed. Congo's natural and mineral resources systematically looted. And the UN published a report, and in that report, British multinational companies were named. So literally during the war, people came and took everything free of charge, because war is business, and during the war you pay taxes to nobody. If we have to fight corruption in Africa, why are we, rich countries, Britain included, why are we encouraging corruption in the first place? You had a dictator in Nigeria, Sani Abacha. He looted about 8 billion from his country. Where did he take that money? To Britain. So if you know that a thief is bringing stolen goods to your house, why you let him in with it? You see? And then you turn around and young people here read in the media, Africa is the most corrupt place, they have bad government. But who's colluding with all those corrupt leaders? Our own government are encouraging that. What needs to be done is to empower African countries to stand on their 2 feet. We have seen aid flowing to Africa for centuries, but nothing is changing. Always war, and poor people run away from wars. They come here as a refugee and we kick them out. But who leads the fire there in the first place? It's up to African, after almost 45 years of independence, because most of these African countries got independent in the 60s, and they cannot even manage their own affairs. That's really a sad situation. I think there's need for unity. There are already regional economic blocks like the Southern African Economic Community, East African Economic Community, West African Economic Community. All these regional blocks have to work together, you know, for the development of Africa. Because the problem we have is poverty, malaria, all this. Why are we wasting money just fighting each other? We would rather unite, put our resources together, and fight poverty. Why are we fighting out? Why are we fighting against each other? And that's the problem. Africa is in the state it is now because of the principle of divide and rule. You know, someone comes from outside, opposes you, one country against the other, you fight, and your country remains behind in terms of development. And you have the IMF and the World Bank, which comes also with structural adjustment program, and say, okay, we will give you aid, but you have to fulfill certain conditions. If you give me, I'm hungry, you give me fish to eat, tomorrow I'll be hungry again. But if you teach me how to fish, I will never be hungry again, because whenever I get hungry, I have a skill. I know how to fish myself. I just go to the river and fish for myself. That's what needs to be done. And the problem, to me, is very simple. Western countries, Europe and America, China, Russia, all this, they are so much advanced in technology, and Africa is lurking behind. Teach African technology to stand on their own 2 feet, but that's where people are not sharing.